Hello and welcome to a new episode of Prophecy Walkers. Today we're going to be talking to you about the 5D wave, the 5D rumbling, the great humbling, and the great hello that is indeed the 5D wave. And what this means, but not what this means in just a cosmic theoretical way. What does this actually mean in terms of how does it affect you in your everyday life? And how do we ground this wisdom? How do we actually become greater versions of ourselves if this other consciousness is available? So these are some of the questions that we'll be asking and answering today. So I'm Hazel, and this is Alistair, and like and subscribe to our channel. We really value your support as we're growing this, starting to share our journey, our profound journey that we've been on for these last 3 years, and we're ready to start sharing with you. So welcome.
It's actually 975 days.
Really?
Okay, so this video is, in my humble opinion, huge, and I know a lot of people have been wanting to hear about this, ourselves included, and this video is basically covering both aspects of the predicted incoming wave of, everybody's calling it a higher fifth dimensional density consciousness, which is going to approach us in the coming years. Some are calling this the Great Hello, because it's going to bring humanity back together in unity. But the reason we're making this video is to tell you that people are going to need help. They're going to need guidance, because what is coming is not all unicorns and rainbows, although that is also available.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give you the grounded version as much as the higher cosmic version where applicable. And we've got this information from multiple sources. Channeling, we actually did channeling this morning, which blew our minds. And so we're going to do the first part as the information that we've decoded from the information we've given. And then we're going to do a readout of a channeling that we did this morning from Kestra Xanthian, the Spirit of the Flames. And I'm going to ask questions and Hazel's going to answer them. So stick around to the end because that is the best part. So how do we know this information? So there's a lot to go through, so I've written it down to make it easy to read out. When we took our journey together in divine union, which we talked about in our previous video, surrendering to the feminine, opening to the masculine, we looked at the impurities inside of ourselves and each other, and this is the kind of level of work that you can't do on your own. You can only do it together. And it's more difficult for a man because a woman is naturally higher attuned to higher consciousness through the power of her womb. And this is why monks and gurus who attain a higher consciousness of bliss and love, and they find, I don't know if you've seen this, but they find they don't need sex anymore. And truthfully, that's because they can't stand the burden of having to further purify their distortions that they hold towards a woman.
That they would have to do if they entered into the next level of consciousness, which is creating that sense of unity, bliss, higher consciousness in partnership.
Thank you. That's important to add, yeah. And so they separate themselves not only from women, but from the density of heavy civilization. So they go up into the mountains and stuff like that, which is great. But, you know, that's why it's been so difficult for us. And you can imagine how difficult this is for us to do in the density of England, you know, instead of a mountain peak in Tibet or a spiritual lodging in India. You know, part of my journey, I did it on my bedroom floor in London. So
when spirit calls, so you got to do it.
So we are devoted. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, back to the question, how do we know this information? So I started to attain higher learning and higher consciousness because through the space that this work created inside of me, which allowed the light to shine into my DNA, unlock these gifts in the body. And these one of these gifts, you get all these gifts that you forgot you had, but also gifts that you didn't know you had. And one of the gifts I had is it's called decoding, and I can decode threads of consciousness. So one of my specialties is I decode the consciousness of animals, which is profound on its own, but I can decode pretty much anything. And it's a wonderful gift. And so I use that gift today. And so when we purified ourselves by removing the distortions of abuse and also acknowledging them, good or bad, we began to attain a higher understanding and knowing through the soul. And when this happened, everything we ever knew showed itself to be a lie, and the truth was revealed. The veil was lifted. And it's important to understand what this means because it's used quite a lot, the lifting of the veil. And in Latin, the word apocalypse means the unveiling, the lifting of the veil. And it's the exposure of truth and beauty and the destruction of the old lie. So when we embodied this, it was the apocalypse within each of us. So the death of the old Alistair and the death of the old Hazel. So those parts of us that were living a lie, living an unhappy life, essentially. And this allowed us to fulfill the cycle, that death allowed us to fulfill the cycle of rebirth. Like the seasons, when you go into autumn and winter, they die, and then you go through spring and you're reborn. And this is what known as a spiritual rebirth. And if some of the integration we did was really rough. And if you try and stop that energy of rebirth, if you don't let go of that, that's when you get stuck, and that's when suicidal thoughts come in. And the meaning of suicide, which we decoded on our journey, is essentially the not letting go. It's a spiritual death, not a physical death. And if you are getting really strong suicidal thoughts, that means you're on the precipice of change. And we will go through in other videos how to let go of that which wants to die, because that for me has been one of my challenges.
Without letting go of your body.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's the really important thing to say.
Yes, I'm not going to teach people how to jump off cliffs.
No, because you see like suicidal thoughts come up so much because we're not able to deal with processing this level of density, which when we start awakening starts cracking open our systems and starts showing us the truth of all of the lies and everything that we bought into, everything that we said yes to formally in our lives, which actually created suffering for us. When all of that starts getting exposed and you start seeing the truth, it can be really difficult to bear.
Yeah.
And like we see this, and this is one of the reasons why we want to start sharing our journey, is to be like, just by listening hopefully to these videos, is just to, there is hope. And things like suicidal thoughts, when you're supported and you know that other people have gone out there, it's actually like part of your ego that wants to die.
Yeah.
And how do you get to that point where you're able to decipher your egoic death and to start taking responsibility for and this is why, like, owning up to your shame and starting that process of deep diving within yourself really supports you. So when there's big changes and like collective changes or lifestyle changes, and you start thinking, I can't handle this anymore, that's because you are exposing your ego, and it's your ego that can't handle it anymore. When you start going into that, you realize, okay, there's hope for my life. I'm going to save my life by changing my life, by allowing those ego deaths. And that's part of like the shamanic path, isn't it? We learn how to like die and rebirth over and over and over again. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. And what's the word where you chant something over and over? Mantra. My mantra was never give up. And that's got me where I am today. I'm still alive. So I encourage you to never give up. It is really tough. But you're probably wondering why we're talking about suicide, right? And why we're talking about how we purified ourselves. This is all related. So please trust in the process. So the apocalypse within us, as I was saying, the lifting of the veil, right? When we did this in ourselves and we allowed the rebirth, this reverberates out into the collective. We talked about this in our previous video, the 3 lines of consciousness. What happens within happens without. What happens without happens within. So that apocalypse that happened in us is going to happen inside the earth, right? So the death of the old, rebirthing the new. So the apocalypse doesn't mean the end of everything. There's no such thing. It's the old. It's the end of the old, because everything works in cycles of life, death, and rebirth. So Gaia is going to be reborn, and her old version will die. But in order to do that, she must shake, explode, and orgasm. So what is the apocalypse, right? So I started getting visions about this in 2019. I first understood it to be the tremors cracking open in me. But at the time, I realized some of those visions I was getting were coming true. And the messages that were for me were different. Now, as you're probably aware, if you've worked with spiritual visions, they're metaphorical. So an earthquake, for example, may represent a cracking open in you, something like that. So I learned to decode the metaphors, but I realized over time after doing this journey and bouncing off Hazel that some of the stuff that was happening in the visions I was getting were coming true in the external world. And this is for the reasons that I said. So I learned and saw that there were earthquakes. And then that was in 2019, and I saw them in Japan, actually. And then last year, around November time, we started to receive dates, like years, not months, but the year, about this big chain in consciousness, right? And we started to receive messages from Gaia and other entities about the third and final rumbling, which is part of the warriors of the rainbow prophecy, which is part and parcel of why we called our channel the Prophecy Walkers, because you described this in our last video, so I'm not going to go over it again. But it states in there, and I'll put a link to it in the description, that there would be 3 rumblings: the First World War, the Second World War, and then the true final rumbling, which is, amongst other things, an earthquake. But the earthquakes have already started happening, as I'm sure you're aware. So Gaia has slowly been progressively opening more and more to the new energies of the 5th dimensional density from 4th dimensional. That doesn't mean the 5th dimensional consciousness isn't already here. Of course it is. We're talking about density consciousness, which is the body, not the mind. And so the work that we do inside cracks open into her. So the more we open, the more love and light is able to shine on the planet, which in turn gives her the strength she needs to free herself, which is why there's so many of us here. When she does this, it's part of her cycle, and she will crack open the earth, and the earth will spew ash into the sky. Now, the prophecy states it will happen to the country that drops the atomic bomb, and we were told that it happens in the root. So the explosion comes from the root chakra, and the root chakra of the planet just so happens to be located in the same place, which is the United States of America, and specifically the West Coast. And as you can see on the line, there's a snake that goes from North America all the way through Central America and down South America, of volcanoes along fault lines. And in this message, we're going to talk about the main epicenter that I just discussed, and it may sound harsh, but this is the information we've received from Spirit. It is a hard truth, but the rape and pillage of the land, of the natives, the dropping of the atomic bomb, the warring of other countries for profit, the tracking and paedophilia and porn of Hollywood have created this dense energy which has sat over the root chakra of the world. And it was created by those who wish to stop the new conscious evolution and elevation of humanity. it's been a choice by the people, and that choice is about to backfire with epic proportions. And we've had all of this information confirmed multiple times, and when we read out the message at the end, you'll see this. And we're not trying to encourage fear or panic or anything like that. There is a reason why this is happening, and there's a lot of beauty which will happen as well.
And I think it's really important to state as well that it's not like, how can I say, prophesizing a story. It's really piecing pieces together from our work with collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And seeing how that works in the world. And also, relating that back to, like you're saying, the root chakra. Where is the root chakra?
Yeah.
Where is the root of this toxicity? Where is it all coming from? Sort of piecing this all together, and just allowing an open discussion. Essentially, that's what this is about. Opening that space. So thank you for opening the space.
Yeah, and it's not all doom and gloom, and it's not just America, and it doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually.
Hence the word wave.
Yeah, it's like a wave that goes around the planet. But I'm going to keep on reading from what we've pieced together. So this release of energy will not only purify the land of those dense energies, but it will bring people together. This is what people are calling the Great Hello. And it will also be a trigger of enlightenment that triggers the wave of solar energy from the sun to hit us and bring about this new beautiful change, this like energy of love, this fifth dimensional energy. But we got some really humbling comments from Spirit. So I'm just going to read them out. People are wanting to believe that we will be saved by extraterrestrial beings because people are refusing to accept their humanity. The truth is, paradise will be down here, not up there.
And that goes for the same thing of creating spaceships to go and live on Mars. It's like that's also another refusal of this paradise that we live in, and refusal of ourselves as nature beings, part of Mother Earth, and that we have it all here.
Yeah,
it's all here.
We're going to go into all these different versions of escapism. Like we're even going to talk about AI and the gender wars. This all came through, by the way. We're not making any judgments here. We don't agree or disagree with anything that's here. It just is.
It's listening to the vibration of love again. That's what it is. Finding the pathway through the vibration of love. How far can you get when you choose, when you recognize that vibration of love and that within yourself, and you just keep following that path? So that's essentially what we do. That's how we work, and that's what we're sharing.
Yeah. So this, so I'm going to talk about the 5D wave now, which is a bit more cheerful. When the 5D, I'm going to call it the 5D wave. When the 5D wave of consciousness arrives, it will blanket the planet and everything on it. When it hits, it will become an unstoppable wave of love filled with all the colors of the rainbow. Its main purpose is to awaken and cleanse the souls of the bodies of those who have chosen to be here during this lifetime. Now, I would just want to say the channeling we did at the end goes into a lot more detail in this, and it's really profound, so stick around for that. Many of you believe this wave is going to solve all your problems and gently glide you into the fifth dimensional consciousness. This is not the truth. For to embody this consciousness requires walking with not only the spiritual consciousness of the mind in the fifth dimension, but you will need the body consciousness to fully experience and feel the higher dimensional paradise. At the moment, we live in fourth dimensional density, and fifth dimensional consciousness is already available here. But if your body is not purified, you cannot receive the healing and fifth dimensional density as well as the consciousness. Now, when most people think of consciousness, they think of the mind, but they forget about the consciousness of the body. To receive the fifth dimensional consciousness into the body, into the heart, is full embodiment. So it's wisdom, not knowledge. So it's working with, as Hazel said, vibration, the vibration of love, the vibration of the heart. And we go into this on several of our videos about bodily embodiment of body consciousness, somatic consciousness, which is not easy. It's quite challenging. So we've already started doing this. We started doing this several years ago.
Can I just bring in here about Gabor Mate talks about the body holds the score, and that's what we're talking about in terms of your body matching the vibration of your consciousness. Because sometimes you think, well, okay, I think this is where I mean, obviously I'm also on a journey of reclaiming my health and my beauty from what I've been traumatically going through, but having a purified body doesn't always mean that you're a small size and you can do all your yoga poses and you can dance like a goddess. It might mean that, but it's full awareness that some of those things we can hide behind needing to look amazing. It's really about truth, and each person has their different path of truth. So it's not to say that, like, just at the moment, because I'm on a process of reclaiming my body and my health and everything, that you could look and judge somebody, say, well, yeah, they're obviously not on the right spiritual path because they can't, they're not fit enough, or they're not beautiful enough, or whatever. These are where these judgments come in. And this, what we're actually talking about, is the purification, like Gabor Mate talks about. The body holds the score. Where is the anger stored in your body? Where is the shame stored in your body? Where is the hatred stored in your body? That's the clearing. That's the true clearing of the vessel that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the clearing and purification that happens before the external manifestation.
We've done this. When we started doing this, we went deep. We started in 2020 during lockdown. We've been doing it every day since then. We're nearly up to 1,000 days doing this every day with each other. So we have a big party in 25 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, the work that we're talking about that is required to feel this wave is what we've been doing, and the reason we've only just come out on YouTube is because we've been doing this work in our own privacy, because it does require removing yourself from your old life, which is challenging in itself. And we've been devoted to purifying the vessels, our bodies, our minds, our hearts, to the deepest depths, but with spiritual guidance from ourselves and our guides. And we've been guided through each other to make the sacrifices that have been needed, the sacrifices of that which has no longer served us. I'll give you some examples from myself. Toxic masculinity, gone. Toxic friends, gone. Lust, gone. Narcissistic behavior, gone. Ignorance, gone. And so on. And so we've cleared a lot of room in our bodies, removing all those distortions to allow more light to come in and take its place, to allow more consciousness in. And when you start doing that, you start embodying higher love, which means you embody higher learning and higher truth. And this is how we've been able to get this information. And it's becoming more and more present in these waves of consciousness, which have already started coming in. And the Egyptians actually did this, and they called it the golden life. And some of them, a lot of them achieved this level of consciousness, but it all went to pot due to the collapse of their empire.
That's one way of putting it.
One way of putting it. Due to the distortion and oppression of slavery, that is also the information I've received. I actually saw that in my own eyes through a really deep and powerful vision several times, and pretty frightening. I want to say it's not possible to anchor yourself in higher consciousness without first doing this purification work. We go into a lot of detail in this in our previous video, the one about surrendering to the feminine. It's due to the density of the lower vibrational distortions. They stop the light from reaching the DNA, Um, but that doesn't mean a vegetarian body, a yoga body, a vegan body, or a weight training body, or someone who runs a lot. That's not what we mean by a pure body. That's a small part of it. It's the purity of distortion, how we look at each other, how we look at ourselves, how we look at society, how we look at everything around us, and how you believe and buy the lies of society. But it's not until the big changes which are coming, which it's when people will start to get it and understand it. That when that new unity of consciousness arises, because there are the people who haven't done the work, the unconscious people, will start to notice that choices are going to be made, and we talk about this in the channeling. So there are still those who sit in third dimensional density. These are, for example, people of no awareness of consciousness. They sit in front of the television every day, go out drinking, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, they might have very nice lives, very comfortable lives.
I'm not judging that. I used to be in that density, but I look back on that, and I was playing computer games all the time, watching movies all the time, getting drunk all the time, doing drugs. I was completely unaware of my own behavior. And the more I purified, the more I became aware. And this is what I'm talking about. So there's never any judgment from us, because we've cleaned and been through this in ourselves. So
we've been through it. Yeah.
We see the compassion and forgiveness in this. But they will still receive an upgrade in light, but they'll receive less light, so it'll be more difficult for them, because they hold a higher density of unconscious awareness and distortion, so they'll have to fight harder, which will cause them problems. That's why we mentioned about suicide earlier. But this does mean people can choose, but will they choose to be ignorant and continue down the path of believing all the old lies of distortions of patriarchy or matriarchy, such as media, control, war, politics, society, social media, and so on? Or will they give up their lies and seek truth? So there will be those who try to explain away what is going to happen with science, and again, that will lead people down the path of ignorance. But eventually, there will be nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
This one's difficult to tackle. Do you want me to tackle it?
Yeah, well, I just want to say what you said is like eventually there will be nowhere to hide, and that we can look at on many different ways. And if we expanded consciousness or multidimensional consciousness means the ability to be able to look at things in multiple different ways simultaneously, and also to see how things are connected simultaneously. So when we talk about 3 dimensions, like people are living either very uncomfortably in, or they can live in ignorant bliss as well, like completely comfortably, but there's an uncomfortability there, there's a not seeing there. Then when you come into the 4th dimension, that's really like start to get some kind of self-awareness and some kind of, something's not quite right. And that starts the 4th dimensional journey up until the 5th dimension, where it's like, wow, okay, actually my whole life is cracking apart. And this is what this is leading up to, is that we're leading up to this cracking apart of the old reality. And this will manifest in physical ways, in so many different ways across the board. And this is where we have to go. You said here about trying to explain things away with science. It could also happen, try to explain things away with religion, try to explain things away with atheism, try to explain things away. Now, this has been part of the problem of ignorance itself, is trying to explain away how much power you have as a human being with your consciousness grounded on this planet. That is what is being trying to explain away. That is what has been trying to be prevented to you through the intoxications of various different physical processes, as well as spiritual and mental processes, And this is the thing that we were saying about in the other video, is that there's going to be nowhere left to run and hide. And if we look at the metaphors of volcanoes or tsunamis or tornadoes or things. It's like it comes through, it smashes things apart, and there's nowhere to go. And this is what we're saying in the other video as well. If you take this translation of this energy, right, of this chaotic energy that is running through, okay, that it might manifest in the outside world, but it will manifest in your inside world. And this is where it's so powerful to stay in it. Stay in it. Feel all of the emotions. Let them run through you like a tornado, like a tsunami. Let those emotions erupt from you like a volcano. And this is the power of what will crack you open to your self-mastery, that it doesn't matter what happens on the outside world, you will have already been ahead of the game by recognizing that this is all already happening and cracking open these parts of yourself. And this goes beyond religion, it goes beyond science, it goes beyond believing or not believing. It goes into cracking open to the vibration, the true vibration of your innate wisdom, which is you as love, you as love, you as nature, you as connected.
I want to talk about the elements. If you understand the creation of Gaia and her story, which I'm actually writing about, is that the first dimensional beings were the elements: fire, earth, water, and air. And that is also a representation of the first chakra, the root. Now, if you look at these actions of earthquakes, earth, volcanoes, fire, tornadoes, air, and tsunamis, water, these are the elements of destruction and change and chaos, which happen inside us as well as outside of us. But there is a fifth element, and that is the fifth element of spirit, which is love. And this is the fifth element, the fifth dimensional wave. You get it? 4 elements, fifth element, 4 dimensions, fifth dimension. So these 4 elements are going to come alive on the planet, but are also going to come alive inside us. So we've experienced this with when we went into the root. We experienced the volcanic energy bursting from the darkness of the black into the red, into the orange, and the confusion of the tornadoes of the air up in the higher chakras in the mind. The earthquakes, the cracking open of the root into the darkness,
and of the heart, and of the mountains, of the heart cracking open.
And the tsunami is the emotions, the tsunami of emotions that want to come through when you crack open, and then you crack open into high dimensional consciousness, and that's when you're like, oh right, I understand what's happening now, and you understand that everything happens for a reason. So this next bit is difficult to speak about because there's some things we can't say on YouTube, but this is the information we got. And so it's come through in metaphors, which decoding. So first one is the broken ladder. Now, there was something that happened in 2020, which I'm sure you're aware of, and we were told to do certain things to ourselves, and some people chose to do that and some didn't. Now, what that was designed to do, those instructions, is to target a part of the DNA, the ladder, which stopped you from climbing the ladder of consciousness, to elevate and climb the ladder of consciousness. Now, the reason this was brought in is that we asked about the difficulties people will face, and the people that have chosen that path will find it more difficult to climb the ladder because their ladder is broken. But that's not to say it can't be healed.
It just means more restoration
will
be needed.
Energetically. And what we were also told is people who are living a lie will have to go into the sky first in order to come back. Those who have denied their spirituality, denied the bigger picture, will be completely and utterly humbled by the truth. For when it comes, everything will become clear. And this is another metaphor which we were discussing in our last video about surrendering to the feminine, about the differences in sexuality, of how a pure, deep feminine holds the energy of earth and a pure masculine holds the energy of sky. And the sky is a representation of the sun. The masculine represents the sun's energy, which is the penetration and charge, and the women's energy represents the moon, which is the push and pull and the spiraling of the waters. And what we've noticed that when you come into divine union, the man comes down to earth into his heart, and the woman goes up into the sky. And when the man comes down, he's healing the mother wound because he's coming to earth. And when the woman goes into the sky, she's healing the father wound, which is the sky. And
in very simple terms, like to begin with, you know, we can go a lot deeper into that, but hopefully you start to understand. Yeah.
What?
Well, that's very simple terms. I mean, there's a lot more to go into it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Oh, sorry. Continue, please.
So the reason I talk about this is there is a distortion where women are in the sky and refusing to come down into their bodies, and men are earth, refusing to go up into the sky to receive their spirituality. Now, the next metaphor we got was the earths will connect with the skies. So this means that the volcanoes, can you see how this metaphor is linked with what's happening inside us, right? So this means that the volcanoes that sit along the west coast, and it's not just around there, it's going to be the, what's that circle called?
Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
When they explode, this will elevate the earth into the sky. So this will elevate people who have earth energy into their spirituality, and it will cover the sky in ash, and the ash is transmuted purification of the pollutants that hide within the earth and the sky. So this is the purification of the mind. And the ash, through these explosions of ash, it will not only purify the skies, but it will rain down on the waters and soils, bringing about fertilization and nurturance, which will bring the world into bloom. So this is about coming back down to earth. So you go and seek spirituality, and you come back down in your own nurturance, your blooming, your love. It's really powerful what's happening. Fire and water, earth and sky. This is about the misgendering of energetic sexuality. As a pure default, the woman is supposed to be born in the energy of the earth because she is the mother, she is the earth, and the man is born of the sky energy because he is from the cosmos. When they come into union, the man comes back. Yeah, we've spoken about this.
Yeah, Mother Earth, Father Sky.
When the woman leaves us, yeah, I've spoken about this. Okay, so next we talk about the cost of the hybrid reality means more confusion. So the metaphor we were given was the hybrid car that runs on electricity and gas. And this is a very triggering conversation. Again, we have no judgment on this, but this is what has come through. And this metaphor is a representation of the gender issues that are currently socially acceptable in society. And we were told to understand that that this is what we were told. Non-binary is a deep state of encoding of slavery, a delusion of wholeness. It is separation from their humanity, because hybrid is a separation. It's not choosing. And I know we know how that sounds, but from a higher consciousness of learning, you know, we both hold different sexes in our bodies, in our spirit, but we are born into a sex, and if we choose the other, we're choosing separation. We're not choosing humanity. We're not choosing our own humanity.
And if we feel separated from that which we have been born into, and we reject that, we are choosing further separation away from ourselves. Because when we receive trauma as children, we talk about not being able to embody your soul, and that's what this journey is about. It's about embodying your soul into your lifetime. So one of the traumas, you know, like we both experience, is that you live a life that is not in line with your soul because it was not safe for you to live your soul embodiment because of whatever trauma you've gone through. So you end up living some kind of unconscious life, right? So that's about anchoring this consciousness. So if you've got that, if you've got this trauma where you've exited your body, or you're in denial about your life, and you enter into this state of unconsciousness because of your trauma, and then from that place of, first of all, rejecting your body, but then you reject the gender in which you have, you are further separating yourself. Again, not only rejecting your soul, but rejecting your body as well. But also, I would say that what has come through was with this wave of consciousness that has been coming through, there is a wave of unity consciousness coming through. And we could also see that within these issues and confusions, let's say, of wanting to find our own self-expression, which is actually what you want to come into wholeness. That's what this journey is. So there is also this energy of, I want to come into wholeness. I don't feel whole in myself. I don't know how to relate to the other. I will try to become the other so that I can then reclaim that part of me that is missing with it by me identifying as something else. But it furthers the journey. It actually furthers the mental instability and furthering yourself away from embodying your soul, embodying your purpose, feeling safe in your body, feeling safe in who you are, with no masks, accepting your humanity, accepting your body, and facing the shames again of your trauma, of the difficult things. And this is one of the things that's so difficult that we've recognized, because we're so separated, we don't even know how to heal ourselves anymore. That's like, so we end up putting shame on top of shame. Can you imagine how much shame is being, because of these things we're talking about? Not only have we separated from ourselves because of the first traumas of shame, but then we put more shame on ourselves by trying to identify as something else. And we see this already in people who have gone down that route, highly regretting it. They've taken their bodies to places where they cannot return to that state in which would support them to further anchor their soul and their consciousness in their body. It's I get goosebumps. Get goosebumps talking about this. It's so.
And one of the things that came through is that the biggest problem about this is that it's socially acceptable.
And this is, and it, oh my God, like, oh my goodness, I'm getting so passionate about this, is that it's socially acceptable because we tolerate narcissistic behavior in our society. We enable it, and we said this about, we enable it. What happens with narcissistic behavior is, okay, I'm not facing my traumas, I'm not facing my problems, not only am I going to project them out, but I'm going to constantly change the goalposts. Constantly change. It's like, now it's fashionable to do this, now you can do this, now you can do that. So these poor people who have not been able to access healing their traumas, and they are searching for themselves, they're searching for wholeness within themselves. They're like, okay, I haven't found myself here, I will go and change my sex, I will go and identify with this, I will go and try this, I will go and do that. Again, searching for things outside of themselves, not being able to take that inward path. And as they go along, collecting more and more shame, more and more trauma, further and further away. So it's even harder to come back. And this, and our society does not support that. It promotes it. And this is like high level gaslighting, high level enabling toxic behavior by our government saying, yeah, it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's harming people. And that's the truth.
Well, it its greatest overall,
and everybody can choose it.
At its greatest overall energy is a promotion of separation.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So the next message is, there will be no more places to hide. There will be no more genders to hide behind. There will be no more places to tattoo away your pain. There will be higher suicide rates because people will not be able to understand the energies of elevation are needed. They will not understand that the energy of suicide is a spiritual death, not a physical one. People will feel trapped and enslaved in their bodies. I also asked about AI, just out of curiosity, what's going to happen with that, because we get pummeled with movies saying it's going to take over everything and we're all going to die. they said that it's just a commodity of buying into a fake reality of a higher consciousness. It's just another fad that will fade away. It's just like playing computer games and watching television. Yeah, it's another way of escaping reality.
Yeah. And it's giving, like I
Your
said about
humanity.
this, there's this energy of oneness coming in, this energy of wholeness. So we buy into these other masks and mechanisms of changing whatever we want to in order to become whole. Yeah, get this, more stuff injected into you or changing your body or whatever it is, then you'll feel better. Do they feel better? Really? Like, really?
Yeah. Okay.
And then AI is exactly the same. It's disempowering you to access your own innate intelligence.
Yeah, well, let's use the topic of art, creating art. People are calling themselves AI artists. they're they're asking a computer to create art for them, and then they're selling that as art.
Yeah. Self-proclaiming their ignorance.
But
That's what it is.
yeah, but what they're doing is they're taking away, it's killing their own potential.
Yeah.
Because the amount of magic that comes through your hands into a painting to inspire people is enormous.
Yeah.
And I read today a meme. It was really funny. It was like, I want AI to tell me where I can find the best, cheapest food in the supermarkets. I don't want it to turn me into what I would look like as an astronaut. I thought that's spot on. It should be practical and useful to benefit us, not steal everything from us.
Yeah.
Bleep that out.
Yeah.
The last
big subjects. We haven't by any means
yeah.
gone
Just wanted
into
to touch on
depth of
last
these.
thing, which when I asked about this, it cracked open my heart and I burst into tears.
Oh, yeah.
It's so beautiful. I asked, just out of curiosity, what about people with Down syndrome? And they said they're actually advanced beings. That makes me want to cry right now. They provide a grounded, higher love for the planet, and they must be protected. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Makes perfect sense as well. They're always happy. So now we're going to repeat the channeling word for word of what we got this morning. I'm going to ask questions and Hazel's going to answer. And this is word for word what we received. Pure higher consciousness. Okay, you ready?
Let's go.
Okay.
it's like a news report, but something completely different.
Yes, news report.
Like 5D news.
5D news report.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any particular messages we need to know in order to deliver them to the public?
Be the spark of life. Be the spark of fire that you are, because this will be your guiding light in these great times of change. If you are thinking you will not be touched in one way or another, you will be gravely mistaken. Even if you dive deep into your comfort more than ever before, the uncomfortability of watching the separation of your loved ones who chose for life beyond the comfort will in itself feel uncomfortable for you. So whichever way you choose, everyone will be given choice points. The shattering of illusions will be great. They have already begun. The tension will rise before greater shattering and exposures are made.
Where will be the biggest rumbling?
In the United States of America.
What was the information we received about the rumblings beginning in Africa?
There will be some changes in Africa. There is more love in Africa. Believe it or not, they are fortunate to be closer to their tribal heritage than the USA, so they will be better equipped with their inner resilience. There will be a cleaning out everywhere.
Will the sky be covered everywhere?
No, it will move.
Its purpose is to purify, correct?
Yes, people will start to wake up to the fact that they hold the power.
So it's really going to crack people open through the trembling.
Yes, and this is why it is good, what you are doing right now, your partnership of sky and earth, this bridge making between consciousness and living life, free of religion, free of atheism, total alignment. And this is what you are bringing, and this is what will be needed.
You are talking about the sky and earth, and we have been given grounded information about what is coming. When this happens and the flames erupt, how does this coincide with the solar energy that is going to come in?
It is the flames within the heart, the flames within the passion of life, the flames within creation. That which have been ignited within yourself will be represented within the flames that come without. Life on fire, your whole life will burn down. You have experienced this already, so that you transform to be the hero, the heroine, the phoenix rising from the ashes. And some will have to witness this through earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes, to watch their world literally crumble down in order to find the fire within their heart. That's what this is all about.
I understand, but what about the wave that comes from the sun afterwards? How does this coincide? Because this feels like what you are talking about is the earth, the grounded version. But then there comes from the cosmos this other wave.
Well, their blanket of chemicals that they are all trying to blanket you with, as you know, is preventing the access of the physical body to access to level of light coding. These waves have already been coming in. You have been witnessing and feeling these. Sometimes they come in as beautiful waves of energy, and sometimes they come in and they destroy those stuck parts of you, and you have terrible emotional times. These are also waves, and these are mini waves. They will get bigger, and you have been experiencing this because they started off small for many years and then recently have been bigger. More people will commit suicide. So, why you are speaking and how you are speaking is to give encouragement as way showers, because you will not know how to deal with, because
They.
because they will not know how to deal with themselves. They will literally not know how to deal with the reality of themselves and not have the support. So you're grounded inspiration of utmost importance, because people need to know about these beautiful teachings of inside, outside.
Sorry, some typing errors. Okay, so this fifth dimensional wave that is coming from the sun, if the earthquake is the internal quake of the root, what is the wave that comes from the sun? Is this our crown opening, our sovereignty?
Yes, it is also the new color codings. It's also the flower of life ignitions. People have to be careful with the difficulty of moving through the lower chakras of the body, the red and the orange. So they will need help with this and the avoidance of the red and the orange. But this will be supported by these stronger light energies coming in. It will be unavoidable.
So things like safety, sexuality, coming to life, all of the things we have been through, that is what people are going to struggle with, the purity of it all.
Yes. And they will start to understand that there is nowhere to run or hide anymore. And this is another one of the great teachings, to stand in it, sit in it, be there, be the pillar, which is what most people don't do.
Okay. I was given information about timelines of 2025 to 2027. Does this encompass everything we are talking about? Is this accurate, or is this due to change?
This is correct, and yet again, there are many possibilities. You will do very well to continue the trajectory in which you are creating right now together, because as you know, together you are better and you are accelerating, even if it feels like chaos, messy, whatever it is you're going through right now. The way in which you are working, you are accelerating faster together.
Excellent, thank you. One last question. This new consciousness wave of colours that come from the sun, will it be visible to the naked eye?
Yes, it already is. You started seeing more rainbows in everything, through the light, through water, through crystals. It it will become apparent. The brightness and the vibrancy of your seeing will become greater. What would formerly be known as psychic abilities, this is what it is. Psychic abilities are merely the realignment to the greater force of life and light within the cellular structure of your being, your body as receptor to the light of the universe, of which there are all the colors that come within that. So again, it is the same things, the same questions over and over again, the same answers over and over again. The clearer your vessel, the more light you receive. The more light you receive, the more colors you will see, etc., etc. And the more and more that this will come through all your senses.
Thank you. Is there anything else we need to know?
You are magnificent. Let the flames of your heart rise and shine even greater, the Merkaba rainbow of your soul. The ignition is here and the light is here. Keep grounding and keep creating. And the more you do this, the more joy will open. And I think you have been seeing this already. So yes, this is the fire of life.
Okay.
Woo!
Okay, so that's it. Whew.
So that's where we are in a nutshell right now with the 5D wave, and hopefully this brings some awareness of what is available, not only in sort of doing the work, but like, why are we doing this? It's really opening up to new consciousness, and it's available. And this is why working together and working in divine union, sacred union, accelerates your work. And this is why we go on about the meeting of men and women, and the energies of the masculine and the feminine energies working together is so powerful. And that's why we talk about we are better together and coming together, because we are bridging the gaps, and it is possible.
We've been given that message over and over. We are better together, and this is the message of unity that we are trying to communicate. Excuse me. I wanted to touch on the dates. So I got last year that it's going to start, because it's getting bigger and bigger. Like she said, the waves of light get bigger and bigger, but also the natural disasters, the quakes, get bigger and bigger. And what we were told as well in one of our other channelings is the numerology coding. So 2025 equals 9, 26 is 10, and 11 illumination is 2027. So the earthquakes are due to not just the earthquakes, but the overall cracking open, the cleansing, etc., as they call it, is due to come to an end by 2027. But you can take that with a pinch of salt, take that as you will, because as we know, timelines can change. And we spoke of Africa. We also tuned into Australia. There's something about fires in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and all of the west coast of America and South America, particularly Ecuador. A lot of volcanoes going off. And people will be in the place they decide to be at the time. There is no right or wrong, but
the world will continue to move, just as the world continues to move inside of you. The world outside will continue to move and transition through these changes. So who knows exactly what is going to happen, but what we do know is that things have been moving on the inside, and things are moving on the outside.
And we hope it doesn't sound too massively far-fetched, because we know how it sounds, but we have been told to communicate this multiple times, so we will do this again, because we'll get more and more information close to the time. That there are multiple sources on this information, but the information that we keep hearing is often metaphorical and isn't grounded. And so we're trying to bring you the most grounded message we can through our translation of the metaphors, but also we have asked very grounded questions. You know, we're not asking about aliens, well, not for the public anyway. But we you know, we've kept it grounded because we know how it's going to affect everyone. And like we said, it is a wave, and it is there to make way for this new earth that is coming in. And there is one last thing I want to say. I did see a vision of what it will look like. We've had brief experiences of it, but we had a brief vision, prophetic vision, of this new. It's not been given a name yet, but there'll be this new. I'm going to call it despondency, where people will feel despondent from the higher consciousness of people who have chosen to evolve, and there will be people just walking around like zombies. It's like this whole new thing, you know, like you know how we have social media, we never used to have it, and there'll be this thing of despondency where they'll be like, oh, these people are living the dream and I can't. You know, it's like this, and they're completely despondent. I've seen that, so that's also possible. And that's all for today on 5D News.
Yeah, let's end it for there. There's much more to be said, and I think it's about grounding this consciousness. That's what it's all about. Not delivering, you know.
Yeah, don't start.
Fluffy messages.
Let's all spread peace and love, not doom and gloom. We know it sounds horrible in places, but we also understand that it's for the greater good, and it's to free people, not to entrap people. And
we're going to learn how to claim our power back and work together as humanity.
And we're going to guide people through this as part of our purpose, to guide people through the darkness, because we've been
and mainly to guide people to become their own greatest guides in truth, honesty, purity, and love. So that people are following their own innate divine inner wisdom, you know.
But that still means you have to subscribe and like the video,
do that too, because we would love to teach.
You don't have to do exactly what we tell you.
No, please don't.
Apart from subscribe
follow
and like.
Follow your own intuition,
All right, thank you for listening, and we hope this wasn't too much for you.
Like and share, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.